Now on KOAM News at 6, Kansas health officials now say someone in the state died of COVID-19 in January of 2020, before the previously reported first U.S. death.
Local school districts work to adapt to a nationwide school bus driver shortage. I'm Zach Dodge with the story.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
It now looks like the first COVID-19 death in the U.S. was earlier than experts had thought. This is KOAM News at 6. Kansas health officials say a person died of it on January 9th of last year. The doctors didn't know how to recognize it at the time. Bryant Madrick reports on the broader implications of this finding.
Today, everyone is familiar with the word coronavirus. That wasn't the case in January 2020, but apparently it was here and deadly. The Kansas Department of Health and Environment reports a person in Leavenworth County died January 9th, the earliest COVID death on record in the U.S. But what can be learned from that death? For answers, I turned to former KCMO Health Director Dr. Rex Archer, now with Kansas City University.
When a new infectious disease breaks out, there will be deaths before we realize it's in our community someplace. And that's why we have to act very quickly and strongly to put it out.
Archer says going forward, one takeaway is properly funding health departments. He says rapid testing could have been done to detect a new virus. Coronavirus researcher Anthony Furr says the early death doesn't change how we think of the virus right now, but it does raise important questions.
And so it'd be interesting to see, if you go back to the sequence of the viruses that infected these people, are they the same virus that was originally reported in early January 2020 in China?
Now a new question is being raised. Are COVID deaths underreported?
COVID-19 was probably in the United States before December, and it probably did take lives. And I think that overall, the COVID-19 deaths are underreported.
In Wednesday morning's University of Kansas Health System briefing, Dr. Stephen Stites compared COVID-19 to another devastating virus from our past.
You know, there are a lot of HIV deaths that didn't get accounted for because we couldn't diagnose this, we didn't want to diagnose it, and we didn't have all the testing available for it. And so now the HIV deaths were probably a lot higher, was probably out there a lot longer than we knew, and I suspect the same is going to be true for COVID-19.
Kansas health officials say they reclassified the death based on the person's symptoms. With the FDA authorization of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine, Integris Health has moved to require COVID-19 vaccinations among its employees. Integris operates several healthcare facilities in Oklahoma, including a hospital in Miami. Employees have until October 15th to submit a request for medical or religious exemption. Otherwise, they must receive both doses of the COVID vaccine by November 1st. School ride-sharing company Hop Skip Drive found that 80% of districts have responded to a March survey are having trouble finding enough school bus drivers. It's not a new issue by any means, but it is adding more stress and causing local districts to get creative to make the return to school work. KOAM's Zach Dodge has details on what the impact is to districts and students.
Joplin School's transportation director Mike Bevis gets back behind the wheel.
We kind of take turns. I'll drive one for a couple days and then Justin will take one.
But it's out of necessity.
We started out this year about 15 drivers short.
So if you've noticed some buses running behind, it's not your imagination.
We're just asking folks to be patient, and we'll get them there, and things are already smoothing out more.
Driver shortages aren't necessarily a new problem. 2 years ago, Joplin was also short on drivers.
But now I've had, I think, 6 applicants in about 6 months.
So the district is working with 49 drivers when they normally have 62 and 3 subs when they like to have 12. To compensate, they've combined 12 routes to turn them into 6.
We have a driver on a route, but as soon as one driver drops out for a trip or sickness, we can't really combine the combinations like we did before because there's just no wiggle room.
In Carthage, they aren't dealing with a shortage in full-time drivers, but they are hiring several substitutes so that if full-time drivers have to be quarantined, they're not left in a tough spot.
But with us, you know, there's a small population. of folks that actually want to do this job.
And with the pandemic still hitting the 4 states, getting more people hired will take some time.
If you're able to, transport your student.
And if you can't do that, be patient as the bumps get smoothed out.
Yeah, patience is key when it comes to transportation. We're not always the fastest, but we're always going to be the safest.
In Joplin and Carthage, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Joplin was able to hire 5 drivers before school started, but they're still low on substitutes. We're going to have information on how to apply to be a school bus driver in this story on our website later tonight. That's KOAMnewsnow.com. Chris, Warner's still hot, but it will get better.
It will, but unfortunately, I've got bad news as to how soon it's going to get better. But first, let's take a look at the Skywatch Storm Tracker. It's a nice little tease for you. There is bad news, though. We had a few storms around Monette and a few down in northwest Arkansas. They have since fizzled out. We are going to just stay dry and hot. Here comes the bad news. So in southeast Kansas, in these counties here, heat advisory extended until 8 o'clock tomorrow night. For everybody else, it's been extended until tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, and that is because we are expecting to see heat indices go back into the lower hundreds at least one more day this week. So unfortunately, we got to stick it out a little bit longer. For the rest of tonight, though, we're going to dip off into the middle 70s overnight, drop back slowly but surely to 81 by midnight. We'll tell you about when that relief will eventually get here in just a few minutes.
See you then. A $1.8 million FEMA grant will allow the Neosho, Missouri School District to build a FEMA Community Safe Room at Benton Elementary. Safe Room will be larger than the previously planned storm shelter and have automated functions so the whole community can use it in an emergency, not just the school. It'll also be used to offer pre-K services at the elementary.
Safety is our #1 priority. And so it's before even education. We want kids to know that they are safe here at school, whether it's from the weather or something else. So it's definitely something that this area needs.
The Safe Room will feature 2 classrooms and a common room. Construction will begin early next year. Coming up, an area police department says criminals are listening in to police dispatches through a smartphone app. Plus, how a Missouri ambulance service is responding to increased calls about COVID symptoms. Police in Baxter Springs, Kansas say criminals are using smartphones to help them burglarize cars. According to Police Chief Russ Harper, crooks are using a smartphone app that allows them to listen to police scanners and lets them know where in town law enforcement is active. But Baxter Springs police are fighting back with more plainclothes officers in unmarked vehicles and new thermal imaging devices that help officers spot suspects hiding in the dark. A lot of the break-ins have happened in southeast Baxter Springs, and a resident in that neighborhood says he applauds the extra effort by police.
I think they're moving in a very positive direction, and I wholeheartedly support everything that they're doing. The police have a tough time, and these people obviously are thinking and finding out how they can get away with stuff, but I think the police is going to eventually catch them.
The force's new thermal imaging devices cost a little under $4,000 each. The Baxter Springs Police Department is buying one and applying for grants to get the technology on the rest of their vehicles. Ambulance services across the country are dealing with an uptick in calls from people dealing with COVID symptoms, and that includes Cape County in Missouri. Reporter Jeremy Ford has more on how the ambulance service is responding.
Right now we have seen a spike in patients calling us for COVID-like symptoms.
Paramedic Christina Degenhart tells me the Cape County Ambulance Service is picking up more people due to COVID symptoms.
You know, they're having trouble breathing, congestion, that kind of thing. They're just feeling generally sick and weak.
But when it comes to dropping off patients, she says things haven't changed much.
We're still dropping off at St. Francis or Southeast. Our drop-off times have not really increased any.
But she is dropping off more people at triage, where patients will be evaluated before getting a room, which can cause delays.
The hospitals are really doing a good job trying to get us in and, our ambulance is available again because they realize that, we have emergencies too.
As everybody is noticing, we have an uptick in the number of cases that are being seen on a daily basis.
Union County, Illinois Ambulance Director Grant Capel tells me, due to a limited amount of hospital space, they sometimes transfer patients.
We're primarily a 911 response service, but we do transfers. And we have had to reach out a little further on some bed space to be able to get people in because some of the regional hospitals around us have filled up in recent weeks.
He says if cases continue to rise at an overwhelming rate, they are prepared to continue to service the community.
We're hoping that we can keep up with the same pace, but we are trying to be as careful as we can and make sure that we're responding in a timely manner and taking care of people.
Both ambulance services want to remind everyone that if you are ever in a medical situation, do not be afraid to call 911. Later, after finishing as the state runner-up last year, Webb City softball looks to bring home the championship in the upcoming season.
And heat advisories extended in Kansas and Missouri, but there is relief on the way. We'll break it all down next. Well, the heat and humidity is going to stick around just a little bit longer with us, but I've said it already, there is relief on the way, and that is some good news, but we've got to get there first. Over the last 36 hours, we can see where that heat has been sticking around. 95 yesterday, 95 today for the most of us, and then you factor in that humidity, and it makes it feel rather unpleasant. 7 the range line, there's a few stray clouds around from some spotty showers that formed earlier in the day. Those have since broken up and gone far, far away, unfortunately, and they didn't really do anything for temperatures. 94 in Joplin, feels like it's 99, light south-southwest breeze not doing anything. Dew point, 69, and that's what's causing these unpleasant temperatures in terms of heat indexes. Temperatures across the area sitting in the couple of lower 90s. Most of us are in the mid-90s at this point. You take into account those dew points, which are still at unpleasant levels still, and you get a heat index value, so they're in that muggy to soupy range. They're going to continue to stay there, and they're going to cause these numbers. We're talking mostly upper 90s, lower 100s across the area, and that's going to have an encore performance tomorrow, unfortunately. Through the rest of the overnight, again, another stray shower or two still possible. Otherwise, clearing out, dropping down to 81 by midnight. We're looking at mid-70s across the area by the time we wake up. Heat advisory until 7 p.m. tomorrow now for the Missouri side and Bourbon, Crawford, Cherokee counties in southeast Kansas. Everybody else over here, it's until 8 o'clock tomorrow that heat advisory is in effect. Nothing on the Skywatch storm tracker. Like I mentioned, we had a few storms around Monette. We had a few storms pop up in northwest Arkansas. Those are long gone at this point, and they're not going to come back, at least not anytime soon. Temperatures going into the future, we're going to start the day in the mid-70s. It's going to warm up quickly again into the lower to mid-90s, which is going to result in high heat indexes again. It's just an encore performance here. Mother Nature just can't get enough of this. As we head into the weekend, though, Saturday, if you see a few stray clouds, we may see, again, a few pop-up storms come Saturday. And then again on Sunday, into Sunday early evening, you saw a few pop-up storms possible across the area. Heat indexes going into tomorrow, so let's go ahead and skip ahead to the afternoon, and this is why those heat advisories have been extended. Lower 100s, upper 90s for most of us. It's going to be unpleasant. But then we get into Saturday, and there's a heat index reading, but it's not that much higher than what the actual temperature is going to be. And so that's why we don't have any heat advisories for the weekend yet, but Mother Nature can always change her mind. So we have gone ahead, thrown an alert day on Friday, but we still have some evening thunderstorm chances, and they start to pick up as we get into next week. And as the thunderstorm chances pick up, the temperatures drop down even just a little bit, and it's going to feel rather pleasant. But unfortunately, there's a good chance that we're going to see the temperatures rebound again by the end of next week into Labor Day weekend.
Even a brief respite from this heat will certainly be welcome.
We need it.
Thanks, Chris. Coming up in sports, it's a new era for Liberal Bulldogs football, and the Webb City softball team aims to return to the state championship this fall. Jacob Linder joins us with those stories and more next.
The Webb City softball team is just 4 days away from their season opener. Now, Webb City had a special season last year, finishing as the Class 4 state runner-up. Now, the Cards have a talented group returning, aiming to get back to state and finish the job this fall. The Webb City Cardinals got a taste of the state championship game last season, and they want more.
They're definitely hungry to get back in that big game, and they're working hard every day to compete and get back to that spot.
It's driven every single one of us. 9 of us are seniors, so every single one of us have had the opportunity to play in that state championship game.
It has driven us because, as our motto is, unfinished business. So every day you step out on the field, you just want to get a taste of that back.
The Cardinals have no shortage of experience. 6 of their 9 seniors are returning starters, including all-state selections Peyton Hawkins and Emma Welch.
Every single one of us have been in games where it takes a lot to win a ball game, so we're all used to that.
We all have that experience, and having seniors, we've played a lot, and we all have a connection together, and I feel like that'll help us a lot this season.
We do have a lot of leadership, and several girls are stepping up, both vocally and in their actions.
They can hit and they can play defense. The biggest change for Webb City is in the circle, with COC Player of the Year Hayden Berry graduating. The Cards will lean on a few different pitchers this fall, including freshman Lainey Taylor.
She's worked really hard all summer to improve, and she's going to do great for us.
We are all confident in her as a freshman to step up and get on the mound and do the job.
She has put a lot of hard work in during the off season, and you can tell every single day at practice she comes out and she knows what her role is and she's there to do it. So I have a lot of confidence in her that she'll keep working hard and she'll do a lot for us this season.
Webb City opens up their schedule on Monday at home against Nevada. The St. Louis Cardinals are back on the road tonight, kicking off a 4-game series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, Pittsburgh just took 2 out of 3 from St. Louis last weekend. Tonight's game just getting started. Miles Michaelis getting to start tonight for the Cardinals. And the American League, the Kansas City Royals are on the West Coast, so they're off to a late start. First pitch against the Mariners this evening will be at 9:10. Brad Keller starts for the Royals, aiming to win back-to-back decisions for the first time since early June. Finally, the Liberal Bulldogs will open up the football season tomorrow night at home against Archie. Now, it's a new era for Liberal football. The Bulldogs are playing their first season under head coach Garrett Zuha. We're going to have our full season preview with Zuha and the Bulldogs right here tonight at 10. And that's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
We take time now to honor a local veteran. Wayne Brown served in the U.S. Army Air Corps in World War II and the U.S. Air Force in Korean and Vietnam Wars. The Nevada, Missouri native was stationed in Iceland, Japan, and Vietnam, and we are proud to salute Chief Master Sergeant Wayne Brown, a 4-state hero. Of course, you can learn about lots of other heroes, hundreds of them from all across this area. We also invite you to submit a hero of your own anytime. It's very simple. You just click on the link on our website. That's KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at what's coming up tonight on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. Going to learn about a unique event in Pittsburgh that's exchanging both plant ideas and plants themselves. Also, we'll have the latest after deadly explosions in Afghanistan. American soldiers are among those killed. And new research is showing how certain industries that provide us with objects we use every day could be harming the water supplies we need to survive. Those stories, a lot more, of course. It's all coming up tonight on KOAM News at 9. Hang in there, drink lots of water if you have to be out. The heat's going to stay with us a bit longer.
It is going to stick around a bit longer. We have heat advisories have been extended on the Missouri side. You can see there until tomorrow at 7 p.m. And unfortunately on the Kansas side, they've been extended until 8 o'clock. And Northeast Oklahoma, though, getting out of it so far. Their advisories are set to expire at 7 tonight. 7-day forecast, though, does show us a little bit of relief on the way. We just got to get through another day of this heat and humidity.
Final sports note.
Well, tomorrow's Jamboree night for Kansas High School football and week 1 for Missouri High School football. Go to our website, check out our pigskin preview before you head out the door.
Looking forward to that. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here for KOAM News at 10. Let's make it a great evening.
Salon service is provided by